What up, YouTube? This is Steven, and welcome back. In this video, I really want to take it there. Alright, I'm really going to take it there. So, right off the bat, I'm going to jump and give some disclaimers. Alright, first, no homo, right? That disclaimer, right? So, um, in addition, I'm going to be talking about something that's a bit of, well, a lot of it of an adult nature, right? And as well, I'm going to be making references to the adult film industry, right? So if you are a bit sensitive to certain topics, if you aren't mature enough for certain topics, whether it's mentally mature enough or just you're not even of the age yet, then this video is not for you. All right, this video is not the video that you should be watching. All right, so for the incoming trolls, right, the potential trolls, I've already mentioned this, so I don't want to see any freaking comments talking about this, that, and the third. If you're going to comment, stick to the topic and not about some other BS. All right. All right, so that's my disclaimer. So let's get into this. All right, the fetishization of black men. Right? And this came up because I was speaking with a YouTube user who goes by the name of Artist Nexile. I think that's how you pronounce the name. If I'm mispronouncing the name, my apologies. Alright, so this YouTube user wrote something that was really interesting and something that I spoke about in a previous video, but this particular video is going to be a little different. I'm going to be coming at the topic from fetishization, that point of view. But I'm going to read some of what the YouTube user wrote. Black men are fetishized as these highly sexual, hypermasculine men. A lot of this is perpetuated by porn and such, but I find that white women and even white men have this strange fascination with the black male anatomy and this idea of black men being these virile subspecies of human. Shocking that white men are just as fascinated with the black male body as their women are. But it's true. I worked in a porn shop while in college, and the most popular porn to be rented was always interracial porn. And the people usually buying it were usually white men. The danger in this fetishism, I tend to trip over that word, that black men tend to allow and accept is that it implies that black men are somehow an other because and almost regarded in the same way as an animal would be thought of. White people secretly have these deep, dark desires about being with black people only for their personal pleasures, but in the same token, they wouldn't bring those black people home to their families out of shame, and secretly, they look down on black people. When I see black men with white women, I often wonder if the relationship is one based on a sexual fetish or if it's actual love. For the black men, it's usually the color thing, but for the white woman, it's usually for the myth that we've all heard about black men being these mandingos. I can stand on my soapbox and talk about this forever, but I really hate that black men don't see the problem with the fetishism but instead hold the myths of black men being great sexually as a badge of honor, as if that's all black men have to offer. I would be highly offended by someone who only viewed me as someone for their sexual pleasure. At least with black women, we know that it is highly likely that black women are actually attracted to those black men because they appreciate features that they grew up around, or they see the beauty in the features that look like their own. I can't say the same for white people. Whenever I see black athletes who start dating white after they get some money and status, I think to myself, they aren't very smart and will be used until they are no longer wealthy before that white woman leaves them and goes back to her own white men or find another dumb athlete to take advantage of. All right, so that's the end, right? That was a bit of a post, right? A good post, right? A bit of a post. A lot of things were said in that. And that got me to this topic, right? And as I said, I have touched on this before in a previous video. And I'll leave a link to that video below. Not a lot of people have really watched that video. I don't think people know it exists. But it's a good video, though. But in this video, I want to talk about the fetishization of black men and the danger that can come with that, right? So, of course, you know, we're all adults and we know about this sexual stereotypes that follow black men, right? That are associated with black men, right? BBC, you know, big black cock, big black dick, you know, being very sexual, right? You know, very good in the bed, you know, in the bedroom, right? And you can see this playing out a lot when it comes to the adult film industry. Which, by the way, when it comes to black men in the adult film industry, they don't tend to make a differentiation between, you know, dark skin, brown skin, light skin. They all getting classified under BBC porn, right? They all gonna star in videos that are titled "My Daughter is Fucking Blackzilla," or, you know, "A Negro's in My Ass," or, you know, some crazy title like that, right? And I just wanted to throw that out there too. But that could be like another video for another day. But I understand why black men would kind of, you know, hold on to this stereotype, right? And really, what group of men wouldn't want this stereotype? But the thing is, when it comes to, you know, us like black men, for some reason, it seems like that's kind of like the only one of the few good stereotypes that we get, and it's like a double-edged sword in a way, because on one hand, it's like, oh, you know, this, you know, the black man, he's really sexual, right? Really good in bed. He'll, you know, show you a real good time in the bedroom, right? He's a mandingo, right? But on the other hand, it's like, well, these black men, particularly by other groups of women, especially white women, are kind of being viewed as kind of like more or less like adult novelty toys in a way, right? And also, I do kind of think, like, are white women especially, do they really deserve BBC as a collective? What have they done for black men, especially black people, but especially black men, that makes them, you know, worthy and deserving of BBC? Think about that for a minute. Because I know Cynthia G brings this up a lot in her videos, but like, think about if we as a collective, you know, black men and black women, decided not to engage in sexual relations with white people. until they fix white supremacy, until they have done something about white supremacy, right? Think about that. How do you think that would go down, right? um, but I feel like fetishization in general is dangerous because it's dehumanizing, right? Um, as artist Nexile said, you know, oftentimes I think white folks, these white people with these sexual fetishes, you know, kind of do view black men as sort of like animalistic, right? Both in a sexual sense and just in a general sense of being like likened to an animal, perhaps a gorilla. You know how that goes, right? We've all heard that trope and stereotype thrown around, right? Well, let's take a trip back in time, you know, back to the slave days, right? I know I don't like to go back to those days either, but we gotta, right? Back on the plantation, right? It was like strongly forbidden for black men to be with white women, right? Why do you think that was, right? Part of the reason, at least, I think that was because, let's keep it real. When you buy property, and at that time, black people were considered property, right? When you buy property, you know, you buy a car, you buy a house, you know, you tend to inspect the property before you purchase it, right? You tend to look over it. You you want to know, you want to see as much of the property as you can, right? So you know whether you're getting a good deal or not, right? So thinking about these white men who are purchasing these black men, they're going all over their bodies and looking at their bodies, right? And at one point or another, they get to penis, and they're probably looking at their penis size and looking and the penis size of these black men and comparing it to their own, you know, and perhaps I'm like, okay, like, I'm feeling some type of a way about that, you know. So I think that was part of the reason too. And as well, like a lot of these white women on the plantation even were having relationships with black men. As quiet as that's kept, because people don't really talk about that, but there are some documents and some documentation of, like, you know, white women getting pregnant by black slaves, like black male slaves getting pregnant and perhaps being sent away for a while to have the child. And then, of course, we get to like after the slave days when it comes to the lynchings and stuff, right? A lot of times, these white women were trying to get with these black men, you know. A lot of times they were the ones pursuing these black men, getting them strung up, right? Because they had this fetish, right? But that's the thing. It was a fetish. It wasn't really based in anything that was like, I actually have some type of care for this person as a human being and their well-being, right? It was just like, I got to get mine, and once I get mine, it's cool. And then if they got theirs, you know, if they got to sleep with their mandingo and feel their sexual fantasies, you know, their BBC fantasies, you know, then it was like, well, someone might find out about it, or either finds out about it and then they claim rape, right? And then the black dude gets lynched, right? And the white woman goes on with her life. And we've seen that played out plenty of times. Even with Emmett Till, that was played out, right? And I don't even think the Emmett Till case was anything, had even involved any type of like sex at all, you know? But that's the thing too, like this stereotype kind of can lead to the like dehumanization, and black men and black people have been dehumanized already. So it's just kind of, in a sense, continues dehumanization of black men. But do I think that black men want to give up this stereotype? No, I don't. To keep it real, I don't think black men are really having issues about this stereotype. You know, they may buck the deadbeat dad stereotype. They may buck the um, stereotype about um, not being faithful. I don't think they're going to be bucking this stereotype, right? Because I think they feel like black men as a collective probably feels like this is a stereotype that we can kind of benefit from, right? In regards to if you want to, um, have sexual relations, get yours, right? But we do have to examine, I guess, the downside of the stereotype, right? Because everything has a downside. Even if it's positive, there's a downside to it, right? Um, let's see. And oftentimes when you think about, like, if you have ever watched adult films, especially like adult films that involve like black people and like interracial scenes and things like that, you kind of notice that there's sort of like a reoccurring theme when it comes to black men. First of all, when the movie involves black men, they tend to put that in the title somehow. When it's like a white man and a white woman, they don't really tend to put that in the title. I mean, they will put black in the title, right? And as well, like if it's like Asian, well, like an Asian woman and a white man, they will put Asian in the title. If it was an Asian, well, if it was a white man and a black woman, they would put black in the title, right? They tend to play up that ethnic theme, right? In the porn industry, in the adult film industry, right? You know, oftentimes when it comes to black men, like a lot of times, if they even get dialogue at all, a lot of times it's sort of like stereotypical dialogue, like thug, maybe, yeah. um, what else? Like perhaps being like a athletic trainer. It's like, oh, he's training this white woman, and then they, I guess, wind up fooling around and having sex or something. Um, what else? Type of stereotypes they play out in porn. But and a lot of times the porn, or the adult films are gonzo. I think that means like there's no storyline. It's just sex, right? There's no storyline. And a lot of times the black male actors, when it comes to like what they do in the industry, like they don't really get, like, I don't know if they really get the classy, sophisticated porn parts, adult film roles, right? With a drawn out storyline, nice scenery, dialogue. I think when it comes to black men, it's like kind of like almost like he has an insatiable appetite for white vagina, you know. And also, there's a genre of porn, of adult films called cockle, and it involves, like, a lot of times when it comes to the interracial cockle, it's like white men watching their wife or girlfriend taking some black dick. So they make that porn for a reason. They make that adult film, have that adult film genre for a reason, because that appeals to somebody. Let's keep it real. They do that because I think they want to appeal, or either have a demand to appeal to white men. This, this dial or this scene of this black men having sex with this white man's wife or girlfriend is something that they perhaps maybe think about. As quiet as it's kept. But you notice like all these examples, like you notice like the black man never really gets to have much character development, not like his white male counterpart does in these situations, right? Of course, white men, they could be in the classy, sophisticated adult film. They could be in the gonzos. They could be in the in-between section. But the black men tend to not have that option, right? They don't tend to have like any type of dialogue or storylines associated with them. And if they do, it tends to be stereotypical, black thug, black men obsessed with white women, what else? Like I said, the athlete, the black athlete, these are sort of stereotypes that I think people in general have of black men. Like, oh, they want a thug. The women want to, these white women especially want to get with a thug black man, the athletic black man too, right? But you notice like these, again, you don't really get to see the black man as being a human being in these situations, right? The black man doesn't really get to be a human being, right? Or seen as a human being. He's seen more as like either an adult novelty toy, perhaps like a life-size black Ken doll with a big black dick, or either animalistic, right? I mean, like almost like, oh, he's ravishing the white woman, right? And as well, you can have stereotypes about white women in porn too, in regards to interracial, like, oh, she just happens to be so obsessed with like BBC or whatever. That's true. But in regards to black men, it seems like, I don't know, it's like even in the adult film industry and even with the stereotype, like it seemed like the white men are still winning because, well, they run the industry, right? So even in this industry, like, and even with the stereotype that surrounds black men when it comes to sex, right? The positive, stereotype of, we kind of like, in a sense, taking an L a little bit still, right? Because honestly, we ain't running the industry. The black men ain't running the industry. The white men are running the industry. They're the ones pulling the strings. And think about the rape cases that involve black men. I think these sort of things come into play too. These stereotypes come into play too. Like, oh yeah, he probably did. You know how those black men are. They're real sexual, right? I had a coworker at a previous job who said that like her niece was like, oh, she doesn't want to, like, the coworker was like white/Jewish, right? And she said that her niece said that, oh, like, I don't want to go out. I wouldn't want to go out with a black man because he might try to rape me, basically. Force himself on her, basically, right? And there was this other white coworker that I had, and she said something like that did happen to her, but it happened with a white man trying to do something like that to her, not a black man. And for her, I think she was at the point now where she was, I guess, interracially dating, particularly black men as well. And by the way, she's a little heavyset, as you know. The heavyset white women, love to gravitate towards some black men, right? For some reason. And that's another thing too. Um, I think we as black men, as a collective, I think we need to stop being the garbage man for these other folks, women. You know, if we're gonna be garbage man, we need to be garbage man for our women. You know, not for other folks, women, not the ones they want to cast aside and not have to deal with. You know, not the overweight ones, not the busted looking ones, the basic looking ones. And that's the thing too. And another thing, I think a lot of times many white women tend to feel sort of entitled to black men to an extent for some reason. Because that stereotype, like first being really sexual, but also having, an affinity for white women, right? Having a desire for white women, right? And I think that kind of gets their rocks off too. That gets them to flood in their panties too. Because it's like, besides the BBC, it's like, oh, this black man, he's so into me, he's gonna, eat my dirty drawers, and like, lick the butt or whatever, and I think that's a part of it too. Um, but again, like these sexual stereotypes lead to fetishization, which leads to dehumanization of black men because it was really easy for white women to get black men lynched, right? Once they got their rocks off, once they came, the black men busted. Okay, it's like, oh wow, I just slept with a black man. Oh damn it, you know, I don't want anyone to find out about this. Or either like, if someone does find out about this, like rape, he raped me, and then right, and then even present day, there's some cases of these white women like, oh, trying to like going in, trying to, letting these black men run a train on her, then recording it or whatever, and then claiming that they was raped, right? And then the black men got to go to court to defend themselves, and they got this on their record too. Like a lot of times, these white women, like that's the thing though, like the fetishization part, like they don't really, they just want like the BBC. They don't really want the man or they don't want the man attached to the BBC, and they sure as hell don't want to deal with the black baggage of the black man that's attached to the BBC. They just want the BBC, and honestly, they haven't done enough as a group to deserve or to be deserving of BBC. They need to be over there with the LWC. All right, be over there. That's what they deserve. Really, really tiny LWC. All right, the BBCs are for the black queens, and I say the black queen, the black women. I think definitely they're the most deserving, definitely. As well, I feel like, well, I don't really, I'm not one to promote swirling, so I guess I'll just keep that stuff to myself. Because I really, like, I don't promote swirling, but at the end of the day, I don't totally knock people for swirling, but I don't promote it, But yeah, look at this dehumanization, right? The dehumanization, the fetishization leads to the dehumanization of black men, and that was why, again, the lynchings happened. They were able to happen, and no one really thought much about it, right? Because, well, he's kind of been turned into someone like an animal, a sexual animal that needs to be, regulated and even killed if necessary. Again, with the police brutality, even, You know, even though I don't think that involves like sex or anything, but the rape cases, right? A lot of times these black men are being accused of rapes they did not commit. Like either it wasn't him or there were consensual acts, but all of a sudden it becomes rape when, you know, this white woman is like, oh, you know, ashamed of what she has done, you know, the next morning, and then it's rape, right? And I think that's ultimately the danger, right? Because also the way that white supremacy is set up, it does sort of, to an extent, have like it sets itself up to sort of have black men lusting after white women first, and as well, it sets it up for white women to feel entitled. As well, white supremacy sets it up for black people to be dehumanized, just in general, right? So like we have like a whole system kind of like set up already to dehumanize us. Plus, we're getting the more dehumanization from the sexual stereotypes too. You know, so yeah, you know, I mean, I can understand where some black men are coming from, where it's like, well, you know, I ain't trying to marry her. You know, I ain't trying to have a kid with her. You know, I'm just trying to, you know, bust, ski, and keep it moving, right? I'm just trying to, you know, get my dick sucked. Or, you know, right? Uh, I don't knock anyone for wanting sexual pleasure, right? But the thing is too, like, and this sort of leads into kind of like, well, what happens when she gets knocked up and she has your kid? What happens when, you know, what happens if you perhaps catch feelings, right? That comes into play too. So I guess long story short, the fetishization of black men should stop. Honestly, it it probably won't stop because black men don't want it to stop and no one else wants it to stop. So it's not going to stop. All right, because people get their rocks off. People do have a fascination with black bodies, especially black male bodies, for some reason. You know, there's probably some white woman right now at a sex shop buying a black strap-on or black dildo, right? Keep it real. Why do you think she's doing that? You know, and oftentimes this fetishization does, you know, reduce black men to just being what, vibrators, strap-ons, dildos, you know, sex toys, you know. And the thing is, like, a lot of sex has been had between black men and white women as a collective, as a group. But what have these white women done for black men as a collective or as a group? With the power and the position that white women are in, people pay attention to white women. Now, come on. White women showed up and showed out when Donald Trump came into office, right? The whole Women's March thing, they came out and showed out. But these black women, or rather, scratch that, these white women who date black men, especially, where are they when the police brutality happens? Where are they when the false rape accusations come up? Where are they when black men were being lynched? They were on their people's side, watching from afar when this all was happening. They were on their people's side. They weren't down for you as a group. Definitely probably not even as individuals, let alone as a group. They weren't down for you. They were down for their people. You know, they were on their people's side watching. You know, so oftentimes it kind of is really offensive when like some black men be on here talking about like black women are not loyal. I'm like, really? I mean, come on. You got to be trolling. Because black women were down with you, down with that black man to the very last moment of his life. They were probably there having to watch in tears probably while they see this black man getting lynched, right? And was the white woman in tears? Come on, come on. Yeah, right. Yeah. And like I said before, if black women were really disloyal, there wouldn't be a black community at all. Honestly, there would not be a black community if black women were that loyal. As a collective, no. As individuals, perhaps, a couple. Yeah. You know, there are some, a couple of bed wenches, right? I tend to not really, I try not to use that word, but to keep it real, there are a few. Not every black woman who swirls is automatically a bed wench. So, just like every black man who swirls isn't automatically a coon, you know. I would put them on a suspect list, but I feel like it needs to be across the board. Either they're all bed wenches and coons, or not just one or the other. And who do you think sees you know, the beauty, you know, in black men more? Black women or white women? Like beautiful as a human being, right? As a human being, right? Who do you think would be more likely to want to deal with the black baggage that black men come with? White women or black women, right? Who do you think would be down for black men if they were to get caught up in some false rape accusations as a collective? Black women or white women? Right? These are questions that I think black men, particularly the ones who maybe have some attitude towards black women who promote swirling or whatever, really need to be asking themselves, right? Because as a group, well, I think to a less extent, I do think to an extent black women do fetishize black men at times, but I think they're probably the one group of women who do view black men as a all-around human being, as a multifaceted human being, as well some fetishization, but way more likely to view black men as a multifaceted human being, way more likely to be sympathetic to black men's plight, right? But I guess I've gone on for long enough. So thanks a lot for watching. And I guess to sum up this video, the fetishization of black men is dangerous because it leads to the dehumanization of black men, right? And on the surface, this does seem like a very great stereotype. Keep it real, it does. A lot of groups of men would love to have this stereotype, but when you analyze it, right, you really have to analyze it and take it all into play. Well, I think take it all into account, because these black men are not being treated as human beings. They're just being treated as sex objects, right? And of course, seemingly some black men probably wouldn't have an issue with that until, again, these accusations come up, right? These rape accusations come up, and folks start talking about, giving you jail time for crimes you didn't commit, right? When black men are being viewed as subhuman, some, very, wild, virile animal, who just has an insatiable appetite for sex, especially with white women. because they're the most desirable. Those black men, they love themselves some white women. You know. One more thing before I go. I know some black women, especially when they watch the movie Get Out, were feeling some type of, were really offended by one scene where, that white girl was like, after they had done all the crazy stuff, like that white girl was on the internet looking for her next prospects. And she was looking at these like college basketball players, and a lot of black women were like offended by that for some reason. She was like, they were like, oh, she thinks she can see, like, these black men got this woman thinking she can just get a basketball player. But yeah, thanks a lot for watching, y'all. Adios and goodbye for now.